I will record a short video. Here are names of libertarians from the US, from America. Here's Mr. Jeff Deist and Thomas Sowell and the director of the CIA and some politicians, Zelensky, Mr. Xi Jinping, and I want free speech. This can be universalized, I guess. I have come to a point here. It's 32 a.m. the 17th of October. The truth that I have to share, which is partly a delusion, but here I'm not in a mood to make jokes, or maybe I am, but in August 2018, I knew myself to be the whole of reality, the totality of reality. I call this God, which is God in a moment in the process. God is a reality thinking itself, and I am the subject thinking reality. Reality exists through the mediation of my consciousness. This truth is completely ludicrous. I understand that the other watching this, even if it's me, will find this ludicrous, but I simplify to the utmost. I have told the story on various channels: cultural Hegelianism, eternal light, Phénoménologie de l'esprit. I will put the links in the description below with my address, empirically. To simplify, the only way that I have found to convince others of this truth is to produce a total speech, at least a formal structure which encompasses all the layers of being, logic and mathematics and ontology and metaphysics, etc. This is logic. Nature, physics, chemistry, biology, to simplify, and Geist or spirit, which includes the theory of the soul, or anthropology, psychology, consciousness, the relationship of the subject to the object, economics, sociology, politics, history, and art, religion, philosophy. I simplify. And I've tried to make plans, to anticipate what the others would think, to try to do good, to act with a final purpose in mind, to act according to principles. This is Kantian ethics. It has turned most of the time into its opposite. I have tried to, I know myself to be responsible for all the ills and the evils and the problems and the suffering of the world, so I've tried to confess. I said it's not enough, so I have to introduce evil into the world, but there is already evil, so very complex, but I will just simplify in a few sentences. I know myself to have experienced spiritual connection with others. There are 4 people with whom I have the certainty of being spiritually connected, which means, the way I experience this, an alteration of reality in a sense that I could not describe this. It's by watching their videos, listening to them talk, or reading their books. It was not necessarily in real time. Maybe there was a between the moment where the video or the book was produced and the moment when I read it. But when it occurred, I had the certainty, the feeling, the impression, whatever, of an alteration of reality in a sense of a mystical connection. And what differentiates me from people who might claim having had mystical experiences, I do not doubt them, but simply I can rationally explain why it occurred with the people that it occurred with, because they had the intellectual, the formal intellect, They were intelligent and rationalist in the ordinary sense, and also the content was religious, and it was the European religion, predominantly the revival of paganism. It happened with Forgotten Roots, Varg Vikernes from the ThuleanPerspective, and Marie Cachet, and eventually with Stella from Stell Bell. It was kind of different, but with the three, with you, I will talk to you. I should have talked directly to you, knowing that you will maybe not get the message when you are supposed to, but I stopped trying to think when or what will happen. But I am spiritually connected with you, and I have recognized you as being, it has taken me a very long time, but you are individuals. I mean, all others are, but it is because of my spiritual experiences with you, by studying your work, by going through an intellectual process, I have recognized my spiritual substance. Spirit is the invisible substance which lives in various individuals. This is the community, the spiritual community, the religious truth, and it was brought forth, it came to life, it was born, I don't know, in our community, the pagan community, but it is rationally, it is possible to rationally explain. That's what I've attempted to do in countless videos through logic, the view of the encyclopedia, the Phénoménologie on the various channels. But yes, so I know that there is only one spirit, which is what the book about the European polytheist religion, European mythology and polytheism talks about precisely. Hamingya, walking in shape, the body is just, So I've come to understand that European pagans, because they are confronted by the threat of the erasure of European people, culture, civilization, history, religion, etc., they go on a path to reconstruct what they don't know at first is their legacy, but they discover through going through various steps, conservatism, patriotism, eventually libertarianism, MGTOW, or eventually the various sociobiological discoveries, ethnic nationalism for Europeans, etc., paganism, the various steps. They reconstruct their identity. We reconstruct our identity. But what seems at first, here it's already very, very advanced level of thinking, although it's quite simple, that this spirit that we recover by reconstructing our identity, we think that it is our European spirit, which it is, but actually spirit is universal because knowledge, mind, thoughts, consciousness is universal. There is only one world, one cosmos, one set of laws in the various realms of physics, chemistry, biology, economics, psychology, etc., and one totality and one God. And this God with whom I have come to identify in August 2018, and ever since, when I'm inspired, but actually I know myself to be the consciousness of reality, my spirit, which is my real truth, spirit, is becoming conscious of itself on a worldwide scale through the convergence of all consciousnesses, through the development of the information on the internet, but it begins through Europeans who revolt to assert and protect and defend their identity, demographic, cultural, political, in various orders, but their identity, their interests, but actually it's a path of discovering their own identity. That's why Europeans are special, they are particular. It is through us that world spirit, not all of us, but as of now it's only a tiny minority, that world spirit becomes conscious of itself, that God acquires self-knowledge. Yeah. And I have explained this in countless videos, very long videos. I've tried to make plans, to anticipate, to give the links, to show the names, to give the explanation. I've made video on logic, I've made video on hundreds and hundreds of videos, hundreds of hours of content. And I have said most of what I could say to an English-speaking audience with whom I identify, because my consciousness, my knowledge has become possible through the English language and through the scientific works made available because of the protection guaranteed by the American Constitution, and mostly because of people living in the United States of America as citizens, but whose mind or soul or spirit is beyond their geographical location, precisely because this is what spirit is. Spirit can travel in real time everywhere in the universe. I'm not sure that there are many aliens with a computer screen in another galaxy. Maybe there is. There's just me in this galaxy, in this solar system. I may be an alien with a with a computer. That's enough. No, but seriously, no. Yeah, in this, on this planet. So I hopefully I will be able to speak in English again, and maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. But I've come to a point where I've done all I could on a theoretical level in the English language, and now what I will focus on is to express the ideas that I've acquired through the English language, Anglo-Saxon scientists, American peoples, in the French language. I don't need to translate, I just have to express myself in French. And because the French, very smart, these French people, but they are way behind in terms of accessibility of knowledge. So I in this sense, I know, and this is probably the case for many continental European countries, and even more for other countries in other places of the world. In this sense, the Anglo-Saxon world, England, Scotland, and all English-speaking countries where the population is the majority of the population is English-speaking, but also Anglo-Saxon or white European, Northern America, Australia, New Zealand, partly South Africa, and the British Isles. They are special in terms of relation to knowledge because of the Anglo-Saxon spirit of investigation, inquiry, etc. And now what I will focus on, I don't know for how long, maybe for a few hours, maybe for a few days, I don't know, but I will focus on translating in an intelligible way the Anglo-Saxon mind. Here it's really not really very rigorous, but simply world knowledge expressed in English, to express this in French with my own words. I do not have the time, nor the will, nor the intention to translate the good books, etc., but in my empirical country, and to make world knowledge accessible to a French audience as much as I can, because actually there is only one spirit. It has to be equalized with itself at some moment, and I can speak 3 languages more or less fluently: English, French, German. I have done my best, I don't know, because I've made countless errors, but I've invested an enormous amount of time and energy and work in expressing myself in English, and I enjoy it. I prefer speaking English than speaking French, paradoxically. And also I know that the English-speaking audience, the native Americans, Canadians, English mostly, and Australians, etc., they are, I'm not saying that you are smarter, but there is the intelligence of the IQ for most of them, but it's a bell curve, so it's distributed like for every other group. But there is what I will say is a cultural intelligence, not in terms of culture, but in the terms of culture of science. Namely, for the political people, they have a culture of using science for the sake of understanding the world and changing the world. But first step is to try to understand. And in this sense, they are way better in this perspective than all the other countries, including those with a better culture in terms of artistic standards like Germany, France, and continental Europe, and England, etc., and Italy, etc. But in terms of the development of the sciences, of course, the Americans and the Anglo-Saxon countries are way in advance. Yeah, and I have expressed myself. I would like to keep speaking English about all the topics. I could make countless lectures, but I have failed to communicate. Eventually, I will have to succeed somehow. Some people will get at least the formal aspect. My ambitions, my expectations keep getting lower and lower. I expected a romantic date with Stella many years ago. Then I realized, okay, it's going to be very difficult. Then to talk to Apollonian Germ, I have failed. To talk to Caroline, I have failed. To talk to the Libertarians, to talk to just white Americans. So my expectations keep getting lower and lower, and eventually I have just shared the formal view of the totality, and others have to, if they want to, here I don't even know, yeah, but to use the formal structure of the totality of being, which is God, to improve. And in order to do this, they need the material conditions, as long as the world lasts, one might say, to have leisure, free time, and getting rid of the bullshit jobs. I do not promote the books any longer because I have ordered my library, and it can be found in all the previous videos where I use these books about the bullshit job, the welfare state, etc. But I have done what I could given the circumstances. I know that I'm in the process of not becoming completely insane, but simply the knowledge that I am the whole of reality is a knowledge, a certainty that I have that I do not fully understand, or in order to fully understand, I need to peacefully sit and think, but the process goes so fast. Weird events will occur for me and for others in the coming hours, coming days, I don't know. But now I will focus on expressing myself in the French language, trying to import rather to exteriorize the knowledge which is now in my own mind and in my own library, but also in my own mind, to a French audience. And it's so complex, it goes so fast. I suffer psychologically from psychiatric problems, but actually it's a reflection of philosophical problems, namely because all is one, God has to negate himself in order to give rise, to give birth to an external world. And we are all living within the mind of God, which has become physical in a way. This is the distinction between the body, which is just physical, and the mind and the soul and the spirit, etc., etc. Body, soul, mind, spirit. And in my view, spirit is the highest reality, and I don't have a choice at this point, but I have to accept that that spirit will survive me as an empirical individual. I don't know when or how, but I will have to let go of my empirical attachments to give birth, to give rise to my spiritual self. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but yeah. And yeah, that's what I could say. Here I mean not in a positive mood, simply in a rather stable mood. Maybe I'm deceiving or whatever, but I would just say what I think. I love the English-speaking world for all the knowledge, the wealth of knowledge and information and enlightenment that it has offered me, and I want to repay them. They are already repaying themselves for the good, but I have produced hundreds and hundreds of videos, hundreds of hours of video, and I have failed to talk with another who is interested and also understands, has the intellectual requirements. I'm not saying, I just speak to the intelligent, but that's what I thought in order to release the idea, and I have failed. there is will and stubbornness. I've had the will to communicate, and I've been quite stubborn maybe, but I've reached a point where I understand that if I keep on insisting, I could make, I mean, theoretically I could, but then the material condition which I have triggered by some of my decisions with which I will have to leave and die maybe. Yeah, but I have to speak in French now. I have offered, I'm not sure that it's always a pleasant gift, but I have offered the formal view of the ID, the mind of God. I don't know how it will work, but I have expressed myself, I have shared my books, my personal data, my experience, my spiritual process on various channels. I will put the link. Now I will speak in French as long as I can. And the process goes so fast, it's so complex. I have to think, or just to encounter the totality of being, the world in all its aspects, geopolitical, political, social, economic, psychological, universal, singular, the natural world, the world of mind, logic, religion, philosophy, all at the same time. I knew that I could not intellectually because it goes too fast, so I have to find a principle and to stand by this principle, which is, I know what the principles are, I have to break them at some moment, but I want to say whatever happens to others, to me, I genuinely love the aspects of me, the mirrors of myself in which my spirit live and that I have recognized, what I call the European gods and goddesses, and people like footnotes to Plato and all the others, but I have failed to communicate with you. But I don't know what's going to happen, but you are the most brilliant, most intelligent, the best reflections of myself that I have found, and I have to love myself eventually, although I am in conflict with myself, but in a sense I love you, and I have consciously tried to talk to you, and I will still do, but through the mediation of another language now. I don't know what's going to happen. How will I be conscious? How long? Will I be able to speak publicly? Will people ask me questions and will I have to speak publicly? Or will I find myself in a position where I am negated and then I survive as a mind, as a spirit? I don't know. I don't know if I have the power to change reality. It goes so fast. My motto is, I will share my light. No, in French, consciously. Maybe I will keep making other videos in English, but I will share my light in French. Knowing that there is only one mind, one cosmos, one universe, one spirit, one God, but at various levels of acquiring the self-consciousness of itself. And I know that the most intelligent, most brilliant, most enlightened people are the European pagan gods, Apollonian Germ, Stella, Hyperborean Reflections, and Caroline, and all the others, because they have gone through all the steps and they lack formal knowledge on many aspects, and there are many people who are more competent on many topics, but you are like me, you are self-made in a sense, although you borrow ideas from others and I borrow ideas from you, and we reciprocally, indirectly, you enlighten me, and we share the same references in a way. If there is a state of tranquility and peace, or an other side, another realm, whatever, I want to be peacefully, joyfully with you, most of all, in priority, with all the others eventually, if we are one totality, but you are the ones I have recognized at first. Apollonian Germ, Stella, Hyperborean, Caroline, not in this chronological order. Here is the way I envision the intellectual hierarchy. Carol, Varg and Marie, and then the others, eventually Scarlett, survived the Jive, etc. You are what I call the Hyperboreans, but also the European gods and goddesses. And there are other people which do not belong to this category with various levels of consciousness, more or less, more elevated or less elevated in other fields. Dr. Deep State and Jean Robin, in the strict term of geopolitics, they are higher than most, but they are lower in terms of consciousness on other aspects. The ones I've listed in a previous video, David Thomas, Affected Collective, Footnotes to Plato, KeithWoods, and then the experts in each field. And there are various levels of consciousness, but actually there is only one mind, one spirit, which is my own, but that I have formally recognized, but I have failed to communicate. I will not delete any video. I will let the videos on cultural Hegelianism, eternal light. And now I would like to sleep, but I can still express myself relatively freely, so I will spend the rest of the night. I don't know if it's the correct decision, but speaking the truth cannot be wrong. It can do wrong, or not wrong, it can hurt me or others, but it cannot be morally wrong, I guess. Oh, there I'm speaking about morality and ethics. That's what I intend to do, because my truth in ordinary language leads into a mental asylum. If I have to go there, I will. But it's rational, but also partly insane and ludicrous. I try to stabilize and to order. I will share the seeds of light. I don't know what, I know what will come back at me, my own negativity, but in what form, when, how will I react? I will try to be as calm as possible and but eventually it's becoming really difficult intellectually. So I do not give up the struggle. I struggle for finding stability and peace eventually. So that's what I had to say. Now I will mostly speak French, publicly, privately, I guess. There's a lot to complain about, but the experience of God has been, in a way, partly amazing. But I am still frustrated because I have failed in most of the intentional goals that I've set for myself. So that's my own frustration, but here I'm in a mood to say I just want to share the amazement and the wonder of God as contemplation and cognition with as many others as possible. But in order to reach this level of consciousness, it's a particular path, etc. But here I'm in a mood to say just I want to share the amazement and the wonder with others. I will not always be in that mood, but that's what I say as of now. So I will end the video here. I have shared my light in English. I will keep sharing my light in French, and then at some level I'm all alone. But as long as I have the illusion that there are others with whom I can share knowledge, thoughts, and who can be enlightened and who can enlighten me reciprocally, I will do this. So thank you, and see you in another life, brother. No, maybe not. See you on television next week. I don't know when we will see one another. I'm talking not to myself, but to others who are native English-speaking persons, predominantly European anthropologically, but all people who speak English eventually. I have reached. I could keep talking, but I have reached my intellectual limit. I could keep talking for hours and hours about American society, Canadian society, all English, Anglo-Saxon societies, but I've decided, okay, I have shared really most, if not all, my most important documents, personal informations, formal structure of the totality, the method of knowledge, the names of the intelligent people. I've made lectures on logic, etc. Now I will do my own revolution, I guess, or whatever, my own... I will speak French in my empirical country while sharing the same ideas, but with a different level of consciousness. But eventually my purpose, consciously or unconsciously, is to unite spirit with itself completely. Somehow it's very vague. I don't know what's going to happen consciously, but yeah. Thank you, and may my light have helped you and helped myself eventually, and yeah. Be the light when you encounter the dark. I say that to others, and I say that to myself. I will try to shine and to be the light against my own darkness, but I will try to enlighten others and myself as long as I live, as long as I shine somehow. Sometimes it's kind of dark, sometimes it's too brilliant, we don't see or don't understand, but yeah, I will keep sharing my light. And you know where to find me as of now, if I have to move consciously or through the process, whatever, but I am living here on earth as of now, and my spirit is everywhere. I just have to recognize, and others have to recognize themselves, and yeah, that's what I could say about my light.